The silent observers. For 3,000 years, the stars had known nothing but conflict. The Galactic Coalition, a loose alliance of 7 advanced species, had maintained a state of perpetual warfare with the hegemony, a ruthless collective of genetic purists who believed in their divine right to rule. Between these two superpowers lay the border worlds, neutral territories that served as bloody battlegrounds, where neither side gained lasting advantage. In the deep spaces of Sector 419, Coalition Admiral Vrax stood on the bridge of the dreadnought, unwavering conviction, his 4 eyes scanning tactical displays with practiced precision. His scaled skin, normally a vibrant blue, had dulled from decades of combat stress. Another meaningless victory, he muttered, watching the remnants of a hegemony fleet retreat beyond the gravity well. They'll be back with reinforcements before the rotation ends. His second-in-command, Sub-Commander Tella, a lithe Etherian with silver skin that reflected the dim bridge lights, approached with a data crystal. Admiral, long-range sensors have detected unusual activity in the Sol system, she reported, her voice carrying the musical inflection of her species. The primitives there, they're no longer primitive. Vrax's secondary hearts quickened. Impossible. System Sol was evaluated less than 3 centuries ago. The dominant species, humans, had barely achieved atmospheric flight. See for yourself, Admiral. The holographic display shifted to show a solar system that, by all records, should have contained a Level 2 civilization at best, still burning fossil fuels, fighting among themselves, centuries away from meaningful interstellar capability. Instead, the display showed massive orbital structures around multiple planets, energy signatures unlike anything in Coalition databases, ships moving at speeds that defied conventional propulsion theory. How? Vrax whispered. How did we miss this? Tella's antennae twitched uneasily. We've been preoccupied, Admiral. The war has blinded us. Vrax finished. Send a diplomatic vessel immediately. I want first contact established before the hegemony learns of this. Too late, Tella said, pointing to a flashing alert. Hegemony vessels have already entered the system. They appear to be engaging. Vrax's heart sank. The hegemony's approach to new species was brutal. Immediate subjugation or extinction. These humans would be massacred before they understood what hit them. Get me visual, he ordered. What appeared on the screen defied all expectation. The hegemony assault force. 12 warships, each capable of reducing a planet's surface to slag, had surrounded a single human vessel. The human ship was elegant and sleek, with none of the brutal utilitarian design common to newcomers to interstellar warfare. They're fools, Vrax said. 1 ship against 12. Even with advanced technology. His words died as the human vessel suddenly changed. Its hull shifted, reconfigured, became something else entirely. Where 1 ship had been, now dozens of smaller craft emerged, as if the original had been a puzzle box unfolding into its components. The hegemony fleet opened fire. Their plasma cannons, devastating against any known defense, seemed to pass through the human vessels as if they weren't there. Holographic decoys, Tella suggested, her voice hushed. No, Vrax replied. Something more. Look, the human vessels weren't firing conventional weapons. Instead, they simply approached hegemony ships and touched them. Upon contact, the mighty warships went dark, their systems failing catastrophically. In less than 6 minutes, the entire hegemony assault force drifted powerless, their crews presumably still alive but utterly defenseless. A transmission broke through on all frequencies, in perfect Coalition standard. Attention Galactic Coalition vessels, observing from Sector 419. We are Terra United. Your monitoring of this confrontation has been noted. We have disabled, not destroyed, these aggressors. We ask that you retrieve their crews. They will require medical attention but will survive. We request formal diplomatic contact within 1 standard cycle. Coordinates follow. Vrax stared at the screen long after the transmission ended. 3,000 years of warfare had taught the galaxy's powers that might made right. That technological superiority meant victory through devastation. These humans had just demonstrated something else entirely. Overwhelming power exercised with restraint. "Admiral," teleprompted. "Your orders?" Vrax straightened his uniform. "Inform High Command. Prepare our diplomatic corps. And," he hesitated, "begin evacuation of all forward military installations in sectors 400 through 500. Tella's eyes widened. "You believe these humans are a threat to us?" "I believe," Vrax said slowly, "that the galaxy as we know it is about to change fundamentally. And I'm not certain our civilization is prepared for what comes next." News of the hegemony's defeat spread across both coalition and hegemony space with unprecedented speed. Civilizations that had known nothing but the rhythm of war suddenly faced an unknown variable. A species that had developed in isolation and now possessed technology that made the most powerful warships obsolete. On Hegemony Prime, War Director Calvaz smashed his fist into the council table, shattering the ancient wood. His bone-white skin flushed crimson with rage. "Impossible," he roared. "No species advances from primitive to superior in 3 centuries. They must have had outside help. Coalition treachery." High Strategist Mevlorin, the only council member who dared oppose Calvas directly, shook her head. "Our intelligence confirms the coalition is as surprised as we are. These humans developed independently, and that is what makes them dangerous." Calvas turned his 3 pupil eyes toward her. "Explain." "Both the hegemony and coalition developed our technologies through conflict, stealing innovations from each other, adapting enemy weapons, evolving through warfare. These humans evolved in isolation, following a completely different technological path. Their thinking is alien to us. Then we must crush them before they spread," Calvaz declared. "Prepare the extinction fleet." Mevlorin's voice remained calm. "The extinction fleet would be neutralized just as easily as our advance force. Director, for the first time in a millennium, I recommend caution." As the hegemony debated destruction, the coalition moved toward diplomacy. The diplomatic vessel Voice of Reason approached Earth's orbit with strict instructions. Establish peaceful contact, assess capabilities, and above all, avoid provocation. Ambassador Lyrella, a Centaurian empath chosen for her ability to sense deception across species boundaries, led the mission. When the human delegation boarded her ship, she was struck not by their physiology, bipedal, symmetrical, unremarkable, but by their emotional state. Where she expected fear or arrogance from a newly spacefaring race confronting ancient civilizations, she sensed only sadness, a deep, pervasive melancholy that seemed to touch each human delegate. Their leader, a female named Admiral Koshiro, bowed slightly in greeting. "Ambassador, thank you for this opportunity for dialogue. Earth hopes this marks the beginning of peaceful relations." Lyrella performed the traditional greeting of her people, a complex gesture involving all 6 of her upper limbs. "The Coalition welcomes Earth to the galactic community. We have many questions about your remarkable development." Admiral Koshiro's expression remained neutral. "And we have questions about your perpetual war. 3,000 years of conflict that has consumed resources that could have elevated all your peoples. Why?" The directness shocked Lyrella. In coalition diplomacy, such matters would be approached obliquely after days of ceremonial exchanges. "War is regrettable but necessary," she replied carefully. "The hegemony's genetic purist ideology threatens all diverse species. And yet," Koshiro observed, "despite technological parity, neither side has achieved victory in millennia. A stalemate that consumes lives and resources without purpose. You cannot understand," Lyrella said, a hint of condescension entering her voice. "Your species has not faced external threats." For the first time, Koshiro smiled, though the expression contained no warmth. "Ambassador, humanity has faced extinction many times. from ourselves. We nearly destroy our civilization twice before achieving unity. We understand conflict intimately. Lyrella felt a chill. And yet you disabled hegemony warships without destroying them. That shows remarkable restraint. Not restraint, Koshiro corrected. Evolution. We learned that destruction is easy. Creation is the true challenge. The conversation continued for hours, covering technology, culture, and history. With each exchange, Lyrella's unease grew. These humans spoke of peace while possessing overwhelming military superiority. They offered cooperation while demonstrating they needed no allies. As the meeting concluded, Koshiro delivered what would later be called the Koshiro Declaration. The coalition and hegemony have 3 standard months to begin genuine peace negotiations. After that time, humanity will intervene directly to end this unnecessary conflict. When questioned about what intervention meant, Koshiro simply replied, "You've spent 3,000 years solving problems through destruction. We'll show you another way." As the human delegation departed, Lyrella sent an urgent, encrypted message to Coalition High Command. New species presents unprecedented threat. Not through aggression, but through obsolescence. They don't want to defeat us. They intend to render our entire way of life irrelevant. In the darkness between stars, the Battle of Orion's Belt proved Lyrella's assessment correct. A hegemony ambush of coalition relief ships erupted into full-scale combat. Both sides committed their newest destroyers, certain that this battle would finally break the deadlock. Then, without warning, every weapon in the battle zone ceased functioning. Ships could move, life support continued, but not a single offensive system responded to commands. On every vessel's communication system, a simple message appeared: "This ends now." 3 human ships, previously undetected by either force, decloaked at the battle's center. Their presence was not a request for ceasefire. It was a demonstration of absolute control. And the galaxy, which had known only the language of power for 3 millennia, finally understood what real power looked like. It wasn't destruction. It was choice. The paradigm shift. The Grand Conclave on Luna was unprecedented in galactic history. For the first time, coalition and hegemony representatives sat at the same table without weapons, shields, or the imminent threat of assassination. The location, Earth's barren moon, had been chosen by humanity as neutral ground. The massive dome structure built for the occasion showcased human engineering. A transparent ceiling revealing the stark beauty of space, walls that shifted color with the emotional tenor of conversations, and gravity perfectly calibrated for all attendees despite their diverse physiological needs. Director Calvaz of the hegemony entered flanked by guards, his bone-white skin almost luminescent under Earthlight. Across the chamber, Prime Counselor Thenax of the Coalition, an ancient Etherian whose translucent skin revealed the complex network of organs beneath, watched with 4 sets of eyes. Between them stood Admiral Alina Koshiro, her simple blue uniform bearing no rank insignia or decorations. Unlike the ornate regalia of the galactic powers, human simplicity spoke volumes. "Welcome to Luna," Koshiro began. "This conclave has one purpose: to end 3,000 years of pointless conflict." Calvaz snarled, revealing rows of serrated teeth. "Your species has existed for an eye blink of cosmic time. You presume to lecture civilizations that were traveling between stars while your ancestors huddled in caves." "Yes," Koshiro replied without hesitation, "because sometimes an outside perspective is exactly what's needed. You've been fighting so long you've forgotten why." Prime Counselor Thenax's translator unit converted his harmonics into standard speech. The hegemony's genetic purism threatens all diversity in the galaxy. Their doctrine demands the subjugation or elimination of lesser species. And the coalition's forced assimilation destroys cultural identity, Calvaz countered. Their so-called diversity is merely homogeneity with different physical forms. Koshiro nodded. "You're both correct, and both wrong. This war continues not because your differences are irreconcilable, but because war itself has become your economy, your religion, your identity. The human raised her hand, and the center of the chamber illuminated with a holographic display of the galaxy. But unlike any map the delegates had seen before, this showed not political boundaries or military assets, but resource flows, cultural exchanges, and population migrations across 3 millennia. This conflict has consumed 97 trillion lives, Koshiro said softly. Not just soldiers, civilians, children, entire species now extinct. And for what? Territory that changes hands every decade. Principles that neither side truly practices. The display shifted, showing projections of what galactic development might have been without the war. Advanced worlds that were now barren wastelands appeared as centers of learning and art. Extinct species flourished. Technology served creation rather than destruction. This is what you lost, Koshiro said. This is what can still be. High strategist Mevlorin of the hegemony leaned forward. Pretty images don't change reality, human. Even if we wanted peace, and I'm not saying we do, 3,000 years of hatred doesn't disappear with a speech. We know, Koshiro agreed, which is why we're not asking. The chamber went silent. Humanity has demonstrated our technological superiority, Koshiro continued. We could force your compliance. Instead, we offer choice. Begin genuine peace negotiations today, with concrete steps toward disarmament and cooperation. Or what? Calvaz demanded. You'll destroy us. Prove yourselves no better than what you condemn. Koshiro shook her head. No, we will simply disengage. Humanity will create a protective sphere around Earth and our colonies. We will develop our civilization without interference, and we will extend this protection to any world or species that wishes to join us in peaceful coexistence. The implications weren't lost on anyone present. The economic and technological isolation would be devastating to both superpowers. Already, worlds on both sides were clamoring for human technology and trade opportunities. This is coercion, Prime Counselor Thenax accused. This is consequence, Koshiro corrected. For too long, your civilizations have externalized the costs of war to your subject worlds. Those days are over. As the conclave progressed over 7 tense days, the delegations moved from outrage to bargaining to, finally, somber acceptance. The resulting Luna Accords established not just a ceasefire, but a framework for systematic disarmament, resource redistribution, and cultural exchange. Not everyone was pleased. Extremist factions in both the coalition and hegemony saw the accords as capitulation. Assassinations and terrorist attacks followed. But where such violence would once have triggered massive military response, now it met a different reaction. Human peacekeeping forces, equipped with technology that could neutralize weapons without harming their users, intervened with surgical precision. Perpetrators found themselves contained but unharmed. Their hatred met not with retribution but rehabilitation. 3 months after the Luna Conclave, the first true test of the new paradigm arrived. A rogue hegemony battle group, refusing to recognize the Accords, launched a devastating attack on the coalition agricultural world of New Harvest. Millions died in the initial bombardment. Coalition forces scrambled to respond, old instincts demanding blood for blood. The galaxy held its breath, waiting for the peace to shatter. Instead, something remarkable happened. Human vessels arrived first, not to fight, but to evacuate survivors and establish shield domes over remaining population centers. When coalition warships entered the system, humanity's Admiral Jordan Vega transmitted a simple message. The cycle ends here. Justice, not vengeance. What followed shocked hardliners on both sides. The rogue hegemony commanders were captured alive, their ships disabled using the same technology humans had demonstrated months earlier. But instead of summary execution, the fate war criminals had faced for millennia. They were brought to stand trial before a mixed tribunal of coalition, hegemony, and human judges. The trial was broadcast across the galaxy. For the first time, many citizens saw the faces of their enemies, not as monsters but as individuals, misguided, perhaps evil, but still people capable of both atrocity and redemption. The sentences handed down were severe but not final. Rehabilitation, reparation work rebuilding what they had destroyed, and the opportunity to earn second chances. On thousands of worlds, the concept landed like a revelation. Justice without destruction. Consequence without annihilation. The possibility that even the worst acts didn't place one beyond redemption. Not everyone embraced this new philosophy. Conservative elements in both superpowers viewed it as weakness or cultural contamination. Yet as trade routes reopened between formerly hostile worlds, as technological exchange accelerated development, as families separated by war zones reunited, resistance gradually faded. 5 years after humanity's dramatic entrance onto the galactic stage, Admiral Koshiro stood on the observation deck of the human diplomatic station orbiting the neutral world of Harmony. Beside her, former enemies Mev Lauren and Ambassador Lyrella watched the inauguration of the first Galactic University, a joint project between all three powers. "I still don't understand," Mev Lauren admitted. "Your species could have conquered us all. Why choose this path?" Koshiro smiled. "Because we tried conquest, not of other species, but of ourselves. Earth's history is written in blood. Empires rose and fell. Ideologies clashed. Weapons of increasing destructiveness threatened our very existence. We learned that victory through domination is always temporary." "And this isn't?" Lyrella asked. "This peace. Peace isn't a state to be achieved," Koshiro replied. "It's a practice, a daily choice. We don't expect utopia. We expect struggle, disagreement, even conflict. But conflict doesn't have to mean destruction." Below them, the university's grand hall filled with students from dozens of species, former enemies now colleagues, competitors now collaborators. "That," Koshiro said, pointing to the diverse gathering, "is humanity's true victory. Not that we ended your war, but that we helped you imagine something better." As night fell across that hemisphere of Harmony, lights from new settlements traced patterns across the darkness. Not military formations or defensive perimeters, but the organic growth of communities no longer shaped by fear. The galaxy, which had known only the language of power for 3 millennia, was learning a new vocabulary. And though the old words of hate and destruction still echoed in some corners, they were increasingly drowned out by something unfamiliar yet instinctively recognized by all sentient beings: hope. Not the fragile hope of victory over enemies, but the profound hope of victory over conflict itself. The recognition that true strength lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the courage to create something lasting. Humanity hadn't conquered the galaxy. They had simply shown it a different path.